Hello, hello, and welcome to this morning's craft session. So welcome to today's session. We are going to be making some little heart friendship bracelets. So I've been making these like crazy the last month or so. They're so easy once you have the other kind of friendship bracelet basics down. It's a really easy pattern, and once you get going you just cannot stop. So for this workshop you will need some yarn. So if you've ordered from the shop recently, you will have received a free instruction card on how to make the bracelet and a little twist of yarn. So if you have those, get those ready. You could also use this kit. So this is the yarn that I'll be using, which is called Ricorumi. So they come in these cute little balls. It's 100% cotton yarn. And it works really well for friendship bracelets. So you could do like chevron ones and stuff. It's thicker than embroidery floss, which is what I used to use as a kid. And it just makes like a nice chunkier like bracelet, so I quite like working with it. And it's cotton. It dries quite quick when you get out of the shower, that sort of thing. So what you can do while you're waiting is get some scissors and a safety pin to attach your bracelet. I'm going to be using this slightly grubby clipboard, but it's the only one we have that's got like this type of clip at the top, so it holds your bracelet really tight. So I mostly do all my bracelet making on this clipboard. Yeah, it's been painted on, drawn on, and everything by my kids. So there you go, that's how it goes. There we go. So we've got our friendship bracelet kit. Yeah, this is the yarn that we are using. So it's called Ricorumi. We've got some scissors, some of the other bracelets I've made. So I've done some diagonal ones recently, chevron, and then today we're going to be doing the hearts. So with the hearts, you only need two colors, the heart color and then the kind of background color. So you can see here, you can do it in any color combination. So I'm going to stand while I do this. Hopefully it's not too high. Yeah, so you want to pick, I tend to pick like a darker color and then a lighter shade to go with it, just so that you get that really big contrast. This one, the contrast isn't as big, so like the red and the pink work really well together. I'm going to do this one. This is salmon and blue. And same with this one, the blue and the green work really well together. So try to choose like two colors that are really like high contrast. So the first thing you need to do is get some yarn. So I'm going to just untwist this. So I'm just, these are the free yarn twists that I've been adding into everyone's orders for the month of February. So if you order from the shop, you'll get a little twist of yarn and also a little instruction card. So grab one of those. So the amount of yarn you'll need is about 180 centimeters of two colors. So you'll have two strands of one color, two strands of the secondary color. So you'll need 4 strands of yarn, and each of these strands is about 180 centimeters long. So you could do like your arm's length. So if you hold it in your fingers and then just, this is always the hardest thing to show on these kind of videos, just like pull it up to your shoulder and back down again. That should be, and then just do it a little bit longer than that. That should be enough. And then we're folding it in half. So if you can get your yarn ready, and then we're going to fold them in half. So I'm going to get my ends together, so that will actually give us 8 strands all together. So I've got my ends together. I'm going to do what's called an overhand knot. So all my ends are together, my yarn is nice and smooth. The overhand knot is just the really simple knot, so it's just going to go over, so you make like a loop, and then the tail just goes under and up. And you want your loop not to be super tiny, because that's how we secure our bracelet onto our wrist. So to just push it up. You also don't want it to be too long. So about that size. I'm going to pull it up and tighten it. So just pull that, make sure it's nice and tight. So what I have now is a little loop with a knot, and then I've got 8 strands coming down now. So I've got 4 pink and 4 blue, or whatever colors. So you'll need to decide in the next step which color you want your hearts to be and which color you want the background to be. So this is all ready to go now. Now with the heart pattern, I'm just going to clip this under. So if you're using a safety pin, just pin it to your sofa or your jeans. Clip this under as well. And then what we need to decide is which color we want the hearts to be. So we're going to do, it's very similar to the chevron pattern. So if you've done this bracelet before, it'll be really easy for you to do the heart pattern. We are working with those knots that travel left and right. The first row that we do, it's easier to show on one that's already done. The first row that we do kind of just sets up the strands so that they're in the right order. And that will be the color of your heart. So for this one, I'm going to have the salmon pink as my heart color. So I'm going to set up the strands in this order. So it goes color A, color B next. So I'm just trying to pick like which strand is like the most on that side so that they're not crisscrossing too much. So color A, color B, color A, B, so A, B, A, B. And this is where it gets tricky. Another B. And then I'm gonna do A, B, and A. So what we've got is basically a mirror image. If you imagine this is the center, it's basically a mirror image. So you've got blue, salmon, blue, salmon, blue, salmon, blue, salmon. So just set it up. The pink will be my heart color. The blue will be the background when you look at the pattern. And then set up your strands in this order. Heart color, background, heart color, background, background, heart color, background, heart color. So A, B, A, B, B, A, B, A. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to do, and I'll just try to go as long as my voice will let me. So just apologize in advance for that. So we're going to start with our first row of chevron. So to do this row, we're just going to make number 4. So just like the first row of any chevron bracelet, we're just going to do the 4, and then you pull that strand up and through, and you make your first knot. So each kind of bracelet knot is actually 2. So I've done the one half, and now I'll do the second half to make the first knot. And then I'm just going to go down across until I get to the middle. So I just pick up the next strand and go through. And if you need to watch on the replay and pause it as you go along, go for it. And then I've got one more strand. So I'm just making like number 4s. So So my loop goes over and I just pull the tail up through the middle. And this just makes all the strands in the right order for us. So I've got to the middle. I'm going to do the same thing from the other side, moving towards the center. So it's exactly like a chevron bracelet. So I'm just doing the mirror opposite. So instead of a 4, my little point is going that way. So just pull this up through the middle. And just remember, it's always 2 knots for every strand. Just pull it right up to the top. So I've got B, do this one. Oops, that's the wrong way. Make my sailboat, sail, and go up to the top. There is a video on how to do the other type of friendship bracelets in the group, so I'll share it a little bit later in case you need to go back to the basics. As like a refresher. So I'm at the middle. I'm going to knot the other salmon thread that I've just brought to the middle. So I'm going to do that 2 times. And then I'm ready for my next row, which will be the exact same as this row that I've just done. So it'll look really messy at the top. Don't worry. That's why we do this kind of first row to just set up the strands so that they're all in the right place. So the next row is the exact same as the first, just with your next color. So you just start from the left again and make your number 4 and just do one more just straight chevron. And that will be the start of the actual like heart pattern. Just going to go down, so I do 3 knots towards the center, traveling left. So I've got 2, I'm going to do my 3rd one. So 3 left traveling knots, and that just means like the working yarn is working and traveling to the left here. Same as the last row, I'm going to do, see here. I think this one should be over here. Gonna pick up my blue and I'm gonna travel to the right so that I meet my other yarn in the middle. So I've got salmon, blue. So I just try to remember which way my yarn, my clipboard is sliding all over the place, which way my yarn is traveling. And I think I've got yeah, that's good. I try to hold my clipboard still at the same time. All right, oops. And then I'm nearly in the middle. So I'm gonna knot my blue one, just like I did the salmon. Nice and tight in the middle. And I'll just sort that out. I think this one got a little bit squished together. Okay, let's see what we've got now. So we've got 1 row of salmon, 1 row of blue, and then the actual heart pattern starts from here. So I'm just gonna put out my threads again so I can see. So I've got salmon on the outside, blue. So what we've done so far is just 2 rows of the chevron bracelet. We've got 1 row of the peach or salmon, 1 row of the blue. So the next row, and this is where the bracelet gets a little bit complicated. So I always think it helps to have like a picture of one next to you. So our next row is going to be with the blue. So we're going to fill in these kind of 2 corners of the heart. So we're going to make 2 knots right traveling. So remember our sail, it looks like a boat sail instead of a number 4. So we're going to do 2 knots with the blue on this strand. So I want this blue thread to move to that side. So I'm going to do a right traveling knot here. 1, 2, and do the same on this side, but because I want the blue on the outside, I'll need to do a left traveling knot. So I pick up this one and I make a number 4 for my knot to travel to the left. So pull that up nice and tight. Okay, so now we've got something that looks a bit like this. Okay, so the next step, we're going to pick up the heart color, so whatever color you want the heart to be, this one, and we're going to do 1, 2 left or right traveling knots, and then we're going to go from this side 1, 2, and then we'll do the center knot. So this is the next one. So make your number 4 with this color. Pull it up nice and tight. Another knot. And then pick up your next color. So we're kind of just filling in. So on this row you actually have 2 colors on this kind of chevron. There we go. So I've done my 2. I'm going to go back to this side and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 left traveling knots. So I make my sail. And then just make sure these are nice and tight at the top. And this salmon yarn is going to travel to the center. There you go, get that right up there. And I'm going to do 1 in the center to complete this row. And then just flatten that out so you can see. I'll lift it up, maybe, hopefully that helps. So you can see at the top here, our little first row will always be like jumbled because the strings are not really in like the position they need to be. So that row just sets up the strings. Then the next row is the kind of first row of the pattern. So we've started to see now the background color, and then we've done the kind of V of the heart shape. So the next step, we want to make like the curve of the heart. So we need to do these kind of 2 little knots on the sides. So we're going to again take this salmon, so whatever your heart color is, and we want to bring this yarn over to this side, to the outside. So we're going to do a left traveling knot. So we're going to make the boat sail instead and bring this yarn over to the outside edge. We'll do that on both sides. So you can kind of just follow the shape of the heart, which strand needs to be. Yeah, if you need to pause the video and just watch it in slow-mo, go for it. I'm going to go through it, so I'm going to do a few like hearts, so hopefully. The first one is always a little bit like, I think this was my first one. Yeah, so we're going to bring the salmon to the outside, and then you can already start to see that like heart shape there. So the next part is to fill in the middle of the heart. So we want that to be the background color. So I've got the blue here. So I'm going to just leave these 2 on the edges. I don't need them right now. I'm going to go for the middle. So I'm going to knot this one, Then I'm going to use this yarn to knot this strand and then this strand and then the middle. So I'm going to do that. So my yarn is traveling to the right. So for that one, I do the number 4. Pull the tail up through the center. And make her number 4. Okay, grab the next one. And I'm just filling in the center of the heart now. There we go. I'm going to grab this yarn. And this one is traveling to the left, so I'm going to do the boat sail, and just make sure you pull those right up into the top so that's nice and tight. There we go. Our next color. Again, just moving this yarn over towards the center. So it really is, it's all the same knots of the chevron bracelet, just doing them in different orders. So we are not always working towards the middle. Sometimes the threads are going the opposite direction. So once you've kind of mastered that bracelet, then it just uses the techniques from that bracelet to do this one. And then just bring this middle knot up to the center. There we go. And I always just kind of make sure they're nice and tight, nice and flat. So now we finished that row, and what we've got is half of the heart and the middle filled in. So all that's left on this heart is to do one row of regular chevron, and that completes the heart. So I've got my pink on the outside now. I'm just gonna knot these 3, then on this side I'll knot those 3, and then we've done the first heart. So the only tricky bit in this is when you have to do those couple stitches that bring the, or a couple knots I should say, that brings that heart color out to the outside. So I'm just gonna do a few. So I'm moving to the right, so I'm making the number 4. Just bring my, I think next time I will just like tape my clipboard to the table. I didn't realize it would move around so much. All right, nearly there. Okay. And I'm gonna go on this side. So this is just like a regular chevron row. So I'm making my boat sail. Make my 2 knots. And then work my way to the center. And you can already see the first heart is nearly done. So I've got just one more knot in the center. I'm gonna make it like that. If anyone I'll do one whole other heart. So we'll do 2 hearts together, and then I'll just explain how to finish them off. So that is the first heart done. So it's just a matter of repeating that exactly what we've just done. And once you've got the first one, you can just kind of use that as your guide of like, okay, what's on the next row? Oh yeah, I've got to do those 2 blue knots. And oh, the next row, yeah, I've got to bring the pink over to the edge. And we're just going to keep going like that. For these bracelets, I've done 9 hearts. And then I've ended with one more chevron row in the background color, just to like finish it off. So you've got a bit of red at the top, bit of red at the bottom, and then we've got 4 strands, so I've just separated them like this to do the braids at the bottom, and then you just need enough to tie it on. So this tends to be a good size for like an adult wrist. If you're doing it for a child, maybe like 7 hearts would be enough. It just depends how big their wrists are. And if it's for like a bigger wrist, you might want to put more, like cut longer yarn so that you can make it a bit longer and stuff. And then you just knot this together to put it on. Yeah, so let's go for heart number 2. Okay. So again, to start the pattern, we want to start with 1 chevron row of our background color. And then as you kind of get used to knotting again, it does get quicker and quicker once your fingers kind of find their rhythm again. I think I always forget that I'm just like making bracelets all the time. But then if you haven't done it for a while, I think it does take a bit of time to remember, like, oh yeah, which way am I going? And how do I do that knot again? So don't feel like discouraged because I'm like speeding along. It's just that I do it all the time. And I've made so many of these heart bracelets over the last few weeks. So yeah, it's like kind of just comes as like second nature. So if you need to pause or rewind or zoom in, go for it. So for this row, I've just done those 3 knots going towards the center. And I'm going to bring this one to the center on this side. So it's just a plain old chevron row. And I would also recommend, if you haven't done any friendship bracelet making before, to start first with the diagonal stripe. That's the easiest one, and the next is the chevron, and then the hearts after that. Oops. So I'm nearly done this row. So I'll just pull this up. So this is the center knot. And then you can see the heart now. It's just like that. So the next row is filling in this little blue corner. So that kind of gives the heart the like rounded shape. So I'm gonna bring the blue. I need the blue on the outside. So in order to do that, I'm going to do the knot like a boat sail. So same as what we've done on this side. I want my blue to travel to the left. So I'm going to do the same knots as I would normally do over there. So just do 2 knots on that outermost strand to bring the blue to the outside. So I've got that on that side. And it just fills in the side there. And then on this one, I need the blue to be over here. So I'm going to do 2 right moving knots. So that's the number 4. If you always like, I'm so visual that I'm like, okay, which side is my like knot going? So bring that over here. And so it always looks a little bit funny because you've got 2 strands that are very much like, oh, I'm over there. So the next part is to make the V of the heart. So we've got our 2 little blue strands, and I'm going to use this pink one to just do 2 knots here, and this makes that middle V part of the heart. So I've got 1, 2, and then I stop. And then on this side, want this yarn to go to the center, so I'm going to do the little boat sail shape to bring it that way. So I do always 2 knots, and then just grab the next strand, another 2 knots, and the center. There we go. Yeah, and just on the center knots, just always pull that up a little bit tighter, and it will pull the 2 sides of the bracelet kind of together. It really joins them up. And then just take a look at what you've got there. So we've got that kind of center bit of the heart. Now we need to do the like outside bit where the heart touches the edge of the bracelet. So just give you a second in case you're still knotting. So I always just kind of follow like, where is my yarn? Which color is where? And the pattern. So I know these 2 I need to bring to the outside. So I'll do 2 left moving knots on this side, 2 right moving knots on that side, just to bring these over. Because I want to have that bit of the heart done next. So I do those 2. I'll do 2 over here. Yeah, and it helps to do like really contrasting colors so you can actually see what's happening. Okay, so our heart is nearly done. It's always like that first little bit is the tricky bit, but now we're just going to fill in the center and then do 1 more chevron row basically. So I pick up my blue because I want blue in the middle of the heart. I'm going to do 2 stitches to bring this to the center. So I've got 1, I keep saying stitches, they're not. I always teach the sewing, so I'm like, of course they're stitches. You get what I mean, right? They're not stitches, they're knots. But there we go. So this one I'll bring to the center. So just like a chevron row, just bringing that over to the center. Next one. And then just do that middle knot nice and tight so it brings it all together. It's just like macrame basically. It's all the same knots, just on a much smaller scale. So instead of using rope, we're using cotton yarn. But it's the same knots that you would use for macrame. And then the last part of the heart is to just do 1 chevron row with the pink, and then the second heart is done already. So I'm going to knot that. So nothing tricky about the next row, just a standard chevron row. Down to the center. So I've done that side. This one is just 3 knots, and then the middle strand, and then we're done the second heart. How is everyone doing? There's only a few of you still watching, so you either really enjoy the kind of, what is it, ASMR quality of my friendship bracelet, or you're making one along with me. So just let me know how you're doing. Do you want me to do 1 more heart together with you, or have you kind of got the hang of it, ready to just like put the music on and keep going with your knotting, just let me know. If you're on the replay, just feel free to pause and stop or slow down as I go, and go back and rewatch if you need to as well. And then let me know how your bracelets turn out as well. If you want to like share a photo in the Facebook group or tag me on Instagram, it's at social_circle. And you can always tag me and I will always share your crafty creations, unless you don't want me to. Then just share it in the DMs and I'll say, well done. So there we go. I've got 2 finished hearts. And then you just keep going. It's the same kind of pattern over and over again. So just look up what you've done before. I find that's always the easiest. So I might use like the instruction card to do the first heart, and then you can kind of just go off what you've done before for the next ones. So there we go. I've got 3 hearts on my bracelet, so I'm a third of the way through, and then you just keep going in the same pattern. I cannot wait. Let me just turn you around. So I cannot wait to see your finished bracelets. You can share them in the Facebook group or tag me on Instagram. And I hope that you've loved making heart friendship bracelets with me this morning. So take care, and I will catch up with you all again soon. Thanks so much.